We've been building the underground greenhouse called Walapini. And basically all I've been doing is digging a hole so far. So that's what I got of my hole, okay? So what's gonna be happening is I'm gonna keep digging this down, and from this level down, we're gonna put pallets around the walls of it. Now a pallet's only about 3 foot, I'm taller than 3 foot, so we're gonna build up earthen brick above that so I can stand all the way in it. And then on the top, we're gonna have some kind of clear, probably some kind of paneling you make greenhouses out of. I haven't decided that yet. We're facing the winter solstice because this is gonna be how we grow plants in the winter time once we get this all done. So as I was digging, I was told that I needed to separate my different kinds of dirts. On the top is topsoil, which is a lot of organic material. Below that, what I had was a mixture of a little bit of organics, hard rocks, and just kind of a heterogeneous thing. On the bottom, we had a very fine, homogeneous, kind of caliche kind of stuff. And I have it in 3 piles here. This is the topsoil, this is that middle layer, and this right here is the caliche stuff. So I don't know how to make adobe bricks, which is what the walls are going to be made out of. And so Joe Uranga is going to be helping me do that, to show me how to do that. And this is Joe. He's been doing earthen building for all his life, right?
Grew up in it.
Yeah. So first step is Joe's got to do a soil test to test what's in the soil, what kind of sand, how much clay, or just how much. So let Joe explain what he's doing here. Right.
Okay. First of all, the first thing that we need is what I call clean soil. Clean soil is something that does not have any organic matter in it. It can have it in there in some instances and cases, but it's best not to have it, because what happens with organics is it'll absorb and pull in moisture into your building structure, and actually it'll cause it to decay faster than anything else, because you have that sponge effect from all that decay that's going on. One of the main things is that you want to look for is that you have good sand. Good sand needs to be sharp. Sharp sand is something that is broken down, as we'll say, like salt. Real fast, what I want to try to do, like really fast, I have salt here. I have 2 jars, and what I want to try to do in a short amount of time is try to balance this as best as I can, and hopefully I can get it without spending a whole lot of time on it. It sometimes takes me a long time, and sometimes it doesn't. It's just the nature of the beast. Okay, I'm going to try one more time. If I can't do it, then just take my word for it.
And this is kind of a test of the coarseness of the sand. Is that what you said, Joe?
Yes. It's just okay. I'm not going to give up. I want to try one more time. I'm just going to take this top heavy off and see if it helps me anything in any way. Okay, there it is. Now what has happened here is that the coarseness of the salt has actually locked together, because it's sharp, it's jagged, it's got flat areas and all, and it's actually created a bonding surface underneath without any water. So this is very important. This is what I'm trying to do, is give you an example as to what sharp sand is. If you're not sure, then this is a good way to tell, is that you can pick up the salt and you run it on your hands, and you should feel that coarseness, you should feel that resistance, almost like rubbing sandpaper. That's what you're looking for. So anytime you're doing any kind of test on just sand and you're not sure what it is, that's a good way to do it. If you get sand and it just kind of rolls and there's no friction, then you've got sand that's kind of like at the beach. It's just rounded, it's kind of like marbles. and you have to try to stay away from that. The other thing is that we're going to do some jar tests, and what I have here, I have water. I mean, I apologize for my hands. I've already been playing with the soil and stuff. This water has a lot of salt in it. You can see how cloudy it is. Now I'm going to get Matt to put some water in here.
And was that just table salt, Joe?
That is just table salt, yes. Okay. And all we're doing is just trying to show you the difference as to what the difference in the waters. Now, this is just regular salt. Now, I know this is a little cloudy, but we got this. This is not it. But you can almost tell a little bit of difference, but we're not using like super clean water or bottled water or anything. This is basically what this is going to do. It's just going to separate our aggregates in our soils to know exactly what is going on, what we have in it, and this is just a simple test. What I'm going to do now is we're going to take, I'm not going to take the topsoil, I'm going to take this middle soil, and if you look here, there is a screen right here that has been used to screen this soil, which is the last soil.
Yep.
This soil.
This is the middle soil right
This
here.
is the middle soil. Now I'm going to pull that out here so you can see. This is just some of that soil that I put into a ball just to see what it feels like, how it reacts. If this was a lot of sand, it wouldn't do this. I wouldn't be able to do this because sand would just literally be wet sand. It would just fall apart. This has a good consistency. It feels good, and I can tell that it's a good binder. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of this that has been screened. I'm going to take some of this, and I'm going to ask Matt to
Open that.
Just give me some water first.
Okay.
And I'm just showing what I'm doing.
Tell me when.
That's good. And right now, what I'm doing with this is I'm just going to make it into a ball. What I'm trying to do is cut down on time. I'm trying to cut down on time when you're doing your jar test. You don't have to do this. I do suggest that you do screen it so you can get a better reading. The reason I do this is because when you put this in the jar, it'll dissolve a lot faster because I already worked it in my hands, and this will give us a better result. Okay, now I'm going to drop that in there, and then I'm going to grab this other portion and I'm going to pour it in the other jar.
Okay.
So one has salt and one is just water, and they're basically about the same, and it's out of the same lump. So basically you're getting the same thing out of both. Now what's going to happen is Matt's going. I don't want to get the jar. My hands are dirty, so I don't want to grab the jars. He's going to shake them up and actually break that up. And what that'll do is it'll separate everything that's in there inside those jars. And you can see how fast everything just starts to separate.
Oh wow, man. Okay, so this is salt. This is no salt.
Okay. Now, technically speaking, a lot of times what happens is the salt will react different with the soil that you put in there, basically because you're actually thickening the water. You can also put soap in there if you want to break it down faster, but I use salt. I find salt to be readily it's around anywhere, so it's easier. And you can see how all your aggregate is going to the bottom, and now you're getting your silts, which is your next heaviest, that are starting to settle in, and you're starting to see a line. You see a line, just a real small fine line, because all your fine sands are starting to settle, and then you're going to get that, and then on top you're going to end up with a clay line. So it's aggregate, silt, and then clay on top.
And aggregate would be the bigger particles,
yes,
right?
Yes, that is correct. And so while that is happening, and we're waiting for that to work itself down, I just want to share with you that you can actually, to find out if this has any kind of calcium in it, which is caliche, high calcium content, you can actually pour vinegar in it.
Which we did that the other night.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a video on the page.
And there's a video on that, and you can see what this does with vinegar, and it literally just boils like acid, like you're pouring acid on a rock. And what that shows me is that this is high caliche content. This high caliche or pure caliche, it also has a lot of calcium in it, which gives me the impression that this can be used for a plaster surface. It can be used for a building of material. And so what we're going to do now is we have one more jar, and while we're waiting for these other 2 jars, we're going to put some of this soil that has been screened in that water when we get the water in.
You want to ball it up again?
Yeah, I just need to wash my hands. Let me get me over here. Hold on. What I'm using, I'm not going to try to. I'm doing a field test. So in a field test, a lot of times you don't have all the big stuff and fancy stuff to work with. So I'm just preparing my hands for some water.
People have done it this way for hundreds of years.
And what I'm doing is I'm just going to try to break this up because it's really, really sticky, and that is a very, very good sign. You see how it's sticking to the straw, which would mean this would probably make a beautiful cob for maybe like an Orno, a pizza oven. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just cleaning my hands, trying to get them as clean as I can on the field, so that I can use my hands again to do that other soil. The reason I do this is because I'm trying not to contaminate the soils one with another, at least not yet. Okay, a little bit more.
Quick, it moved
Yeah. We want to keep stuff separate and then be in control of the mixture, right?
Yes. Okay. Now I still have a little bit of organic matter on me. That's no big deal because it's just a basic test. I know that doesn't have any organic matter, but
yeah, it was too deep.
it's too deep, so you can tell and see how clean it is. Now I'm going to take some of this, and I'm going to get Matt to pour some water in there. That's good. And I'm just letting it sit while the water penetrates. And then once that penetrates, I just kind of hold on to what's stuck to is staying together. And you can see right there how well it's already binding because of the aggregate. Now, anytime that you're making adobes or anything like that, what happens is you want to have a 3-to-1 ratio. That's not all the time. Sometimes you might need only 3 parts sand to 1 clay. Sometimes, as here, the soil might come out just perfect. If you have a high clay soil, then you're going to have to bring in sand or find a creek or something or somewhere where you can actually get that 3-to-1 ratio. That's what you're looking for. And then once you make your mix, if your soil is not correct, then what you do is you do a jar test. Once you do the jar test, again, there should be at a 3-to-1 ratio, or usually like a 2-to-1, depending where your soil is. That's the only way that I have found that really, really works great.
That'd be 3 clays, 1 sand, right?
No, that's 3 sand and 1 clay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, what I'm gonna get Matt to put water in there. Let's see, let me try to get a little bit more.
You know, and when I've looked online, I've found a lot of people sitting there showing you how to make the bricks and everything and all this stuff, how to mold them, how to put the straw in. But it really takes somebody with experience in this to do this soil analysis, really. You know what I mean, Joe?
Yes.
I mean,
it takes practice. It's what I call it is that By no means I am a scientist or in any way affiliated with any kind of education in this area. The only thing I have is that I have experience, and what I call it is the soil speaks to me. It tells me what it needs, or it tells me where it's at, and that's basically what I'm doing. Is I'm just interpreting what's going on with this soil as is. If I really wanted to get really technical and stuff, then I guess we could send it to a lab and they could give us everything that we needed to know as to what's in it. But this is not the purpose. We're looking at building houses like they have been built for thousands of years. Good example, dirt daubers. If you're ever in a place where there's a barn or even your house, your garage, and you're doing some kind of building or working some cement or anything, you watch those dirt daubers. They will go around and they'll go around and go around that puddle of water until they find the soil that they are looking for. And once they find that soil mixture that they're looking for, they'll make little balls out of it and they'll fly off with it and make their roosting place where they put their eggs. So what you need to understand is this is nothing new. Insects have been doing this for thousands of years. So we just actually what we're doing is borrowing technology that existed even in insects. So that's what's happening right now.
You're a dirt dauber. Sometimes you got to take a hammer to that thing.
And those things they're tough. And it's amazing because they'll use, I mean, I've been to construction sites where there's drywall mud and dust and dirt and stuff outside, and those rascals will actually mix the stuff in a way, and you can see that where that nest is made, you can actually see the drywall mud mix into it. It's really, really cool how they're able to do that. So next time you see dirt daubers, check out their home, man. You'll be surprised as to what they can teach us. You can see the difference here. Now, I'm trying not to shake these any more than I have to, or move them as more than I have to. But look at the difference in the color. And that color shows you what the difference is from a soil that it has some clay in it and some soil that is just caliche. For instance, this one is still cloudy. This one's already getting clear. Now this is salt. See, this is a salt one right here. That's the salt one. This is just the water. And you can see how fast and how different this thing it just made that much difference just by adding salt to one and not the other. So this one here, being that it's just the water, is also going to, and if we had another jar, you would get the same result, but the time lapse in these would be a totally different. This is that soil right there, and all I did was I took it, and what I did with the soil that was on my hands, and like little pieces like this, and I just got it, and I just rolled it. And what I'm doing is, if this was just nothing but sand in it, or a lot of aggregate, I wouldn't be able to do this. I would not be able to do this. And that shows me right there that there is enough material in here that's holding that aggregate together. So that interprets to me that this material that has been sifted can be used to plaster the walls, and actually can be used as a mortar mix between the adobes. So now I have a strong bonding agent here from this material, that if that is made into adobe, then I have something that will join everything together. And what's amazing about that is these are like materials. They're the same, from the same place. So what that means is that this material will bind to that material and will even bind to that other material readily, easily. So that's what it's all about. You have like material, and the only thing that you're adding to this is just water. There's no amending. There is no cement being put into this. We're not using any fuels. if we wanted to do anything to make this a little bit stronger or tougher, then what I would suggest is only adding lime, hydrated lime to this to make it stronger, to make a stronger water resistant wall. And actually what that means is I would use this to plaster the inside or the outside of the walls if need be. That would give me a very nice finish, and it would actually be the whole structure is made out of one product. So you don't have to add something else to it to make it stick. If you want to put something in it, you want to put color or something like that, you can. If you want to stay organic, just use what you have. If there's another place in this property where there is red soil, we can test it, do the same thing, and use the red soil as a plaster medium. So there's a lot of things that can happen, but what I'm trying to do is trying to stay away from having to go buy anything when all we need is water and soil and some wood to make the forms and so forth. And that'll be on another video. But you can see now how this was already drying, and it's getting to the same color as the soil itself.
That got pretty hard, man.
Yeah, it's getting hard. It's really neat. So to make it really harder, I think by adding maybe a little bit more sand and some lime to it, we could end up with a really, really beautiful surface that will not even chalk up. And what I mean by chalk up is that when you brush against the wall or you lean against the wall, you're not going to end up with this dusty looking chalky area on your shoulder or your pant leg or whatever. Right now, I mean, this thing right here, it'll dust. But by amending this soil, you can make this where you can burnish, polish the walls, and it won't do that anymore. So this is something that has existed for a long time. It's just that we have gotten away from it, not knowing how to do this. I think we're on track here as far as to what's happening. Another thing that you will do is when this thing starts to settle, then it may take a while, then you just leave them alone and you can see the difference, what happens in just these two right here, the one with salt and the one without salt. You can see how much suspension there is in these two right here just by doing that. And again, I'm just going to say this is the one clean water and this is salt. What I'm doing is that I'm speeding it up by using the salt, and this one is just the water, so you don't have to have salt. What this does, it just keeps it airborne. It keeps it, I guess airborne is not the right word, but
Suspended.
Waterborne, I guess, would be the word. A lot longer, so you get a different reading. But you can see now on this one a lot more and clearer what your aggregate is, and what your and then what your silt and your clays are going to be. And there will be another line that shows up in here. Sometimes there's just a real fine, thin line. Sometimes it's a real, but usually there's 3 different stratas that you will find in here. So that's what you're going to get out of that. And then once you figure that out, you measure this strata with the other strata that's already forming and the other one that's coming up. And what you do is you check your ratios. And then what that means is, what I do is I measure this one, and then I measure the one on top, and I combine the 2 on top. Now, if this is 1 part, and then this ends up being 1 part of this 2 stratas, that tells me I have to add clay to this to make this a stronger material. If I get, let's say this is 1 part here, and or 3 parts here, and 1 part here, then I know that I have the perfect material to work with, and I don't have to do hardly anything to this except just screen it and use it for mortar mix and for plaster to plaster the walls to make a finish. But you can see now, here it is. This is a little bit better. You can see the aggregate and then the settling of the clays and so forth. So this is really, really neat. Maybe later we can do a video on this where this has all settled in, and then you can get a clear picture as to what's happening and what happened to this soil and what needs to be done to it to be able to use it. And basically that's about it. I can't just want to say thank you, and you can see my hands, how this stuff is just how amazing it is, how it sticks. You can see
how quick it dried.
And it's almost elastic. Another thing that you can look at is, if you live around the country, is look under your fender walls. A lot of times that soil that's under your fender walls will show you what kind of clays you have in that ground, in that road that you travel back and forth on. So I'm just trying to make you aware of what it takes and what it is. It's not rocket science in any way, but it sure will keep you warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Thank you.
And it's just comes right out of the ground. We're not paying for any of this. We're just labor and Joe's knowledge. That's all we're really going to use.
Yep.
And you know, that's
knowledge,
about it about this.
Knowledge should be free.
Mm-hmm. Yep, knowledge should be free. And so we're going to be having more videos. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in our comments, and just keep an eye out. Check out our website, guildsofrequiem.com.